All right, let's go ahead and get started. So good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. And Happy New Year, Happy 2016. I hope that everyone has had a great start to their new year. This is the first webcast that we're having in 2016. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate your time. So what we'll be talking about today are the top 5 disaster recovery secrets. I want to let you know before we dive in that you're all going to get a copy of this presentation. So this will be sent to you. You'll get a copy of the slides as well as a replay video I am recording. There's also a handout section in the software today. So if you wanted to go ahead and grab a copy of the slides now, you can do that in the handout section. You'll also, you might see a report in there. That's a report that we're going to discuss a little bit into the presentation. So I'll be referring to that, so feel free to grab a copy of that as well. Last thing I would like to note before we get started is that there's also a question tool in the software today in GoToWebinar. So please use that question tool throughout the presentation. Ask lots of relevant on-topic questions. We are going to be doing a prize giveaway during the Q&A. So all you need to do to be eligible for that prize giveaway is just simply ask lots of relevant and on-topic questions. All right, so with that, let's take a look at the agenda for today. So we are talking about disaster recovery here. So first we're going to talk about some of the problems with traditional DR. Then we're going to move into the top 5 disaster recovery secrets. I'm going to introduce then the Cloud Failover Appliance, and then we'll do that Q&A and the prize giveaway. So we have about a 30-minute presentation, and then we'll do the Q&A and giveaway. So in total, probably about 45 minutes today. And first, I would really like to start off with a poll. So I want to hear from you. I really want to be able to cater this presentation to you. So I'm going to launch a quick poll, and I'd really appreciate everyone's participation. And this is just simply asking to tell me a little bit about you, and this is asking your company size. Now, if you are a reseller or an MSP or a VAR, then please type into the question tool and let me know. So I'd love to hear from you what type of business you have, how much data you are looking to protect, if you have a current disaster recovery solution and what you like and dislike about it. I'd really like to make this interactive. So anything that you'd like to share, I have the question tool up on my screen, which I know that you're looking at the poll right now, but I'm able to see those throughout the presentation. So definitely would love to make this interactive with you. And with that, it looks like 70% of you have voted so far, which is great. And it looks like we have, thus far, of the 70% who voted, 21% in the 0 to 100 range, 29% in the 100 to 500 range, 7% in the 500 to 1500, both of those categories, and then 36% in the 1500 plus. So that is a pretty widespread audience, which is great to see. 74% have voted so far. So with that majority, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll down. Thank you all for your participation in that. And you should be getting back to the screen here. Perfect. There we go. All right. So with that in mind, I first want to just introduce a few of the current problems with disaster recovery methods. And then we're going to take a look at some of the trends that are propelling the growth of DRaaS, or disaster recovery as a service. And by disaster recovery as a service, I really want to be clear on what I mean here. So I mean the ability to fail over your entire business environment, not just your data, not just files and folders, but your entire business environment to a secondary location in the event of any outage. So with that in mind, the current problem here, every company relies on data and system uptime for its survival, but only the biggest organizations can afford failover. So that really leads most organizations to rely on backup as a poor man's disaster recovery solution. And we're going to talk about this theme throughout the webinar as we go along, and we are going to talk about the solutions that are available to you as well. Let's take a look now at a couple of the trends that we've seen. So virtually every business will experience some type of downtime. And I see, I'm going to jump to the question tool for just a second here. Now it looks like Dennis is saying, we use Commvault as our backup solution. One of my tasks for fiscal year 2016 is to look at DR and backup to the cloud. So Dennis, that is a great comment. Thanks for your participation. We are going to talk about, we're going to talk about some competitors in this space. So we are going to get to some of the sort of details, a competitive comparison, I'll call it, so that we can sort of check out some of the pros and cons of all of the different solutions that are available to you. You said that one of your tasks is to look at DR and backup to the cloud. So we are going to discuss all the options for that as well. How much data are you looking to protect? Do you currently have in your business? And what type of business do you have? Also, for anyone else on the line today, taking a look at the slide that I have up here, we're saying every business, will experience some downtime. Now, if you look at this graph on the bottom right, the top causes of downtime, you can see that 55% is from hardware failure and then 22% from human error. So many of you on the line already have experienced some type of downtime. Would anyone like to share that experience in the question tool? I can go ahead and read it to the group. Would love to hear about any experiences that you already had with maybe hardware failure, human error. We know that that happens all the time. That delete button gets hit accidentally quite often. So just any sort of experiences that you would like to share with the group. And then I can go ahead and discuss some of the solutions that we have available as well. On the left of this slide here is simply the pervasiveness of downtime. This is how prevalent it really is. 91% of those surveyed had a outage in the past 24 months, in the past 2 years. And then 47% of companies experienced an outage this year. So of everyone on the line here, 47% of you is a very high number. So if you've experienced any type of outage, we'd love to hear about it. And let's go ahead and talk about, now that we've seen that, what does this downtime actually cost a business? So here's what it's going to cost. Now these are some averages, the calculated averages for cost per hour of downtime. Now for smaller companies, it was found to be $8,000 per hour. But for larger companies, $600,000 per hour of downtime. That's simply crippling to a business. Especially if you're a smaller business, just a day being down is going to cost the entire organization. You might shut your doors and go out of business. So this is extremely crippling to a business. Now, just to jump back to the questions for a minute, Nick says, does this cover SQL Server? By the way, Nick, yes, it does. Let's see. Dennis is saying 1.3 petabytes. Dennis, you have a large amount of data. That's great to hear, because I'm sure that a high percentage of that data is critical to your business. Dennis made sure to say 1.3 petabytes, not terabytes. And so, Dennis, what is your environment like? Let's see, now Jesse is chiming in. We had a database server issue with our application. Does it work with virtual machines? Yes, Jesse, we'll get into some of those details in just a few slides here. I know we're sort of still in the intro here. Carla said, Carla with a K, and I love that name, of course, because I've heard it so much in my life. My name is Carla Federico with Infrascale. And so Carla says we use backups as our disaster recovery, and we place that backup media in a fireproof vault nearby. Okay, wow, Carla, how much data do you have placed in that vault nearby? I do have a slide specifically for you, just coming up in a few slides, about sort of the history of disaster recovery, backup and disaster recovery, and where it's going, where we came from, where we're going in the future. And so I'd really like to point that one out to you, Carla. So we are going to get to that as well. Okay, great. All right, so thank you everyone for all those comments. Really appreciate it. I'm going to move forward here to so these are some of the barriers to adoption. I mean, like we just saw, it's extremely costly for a business to experience any type of downtime or any type of outage. So why hasn't everyone invested in on-demand failover in push-button disaster recovery? But what we found is that there are lots of barriers to adoption here. So of the survey of 350 companies, ranging in size from 100 to 5,000 employees, most of those businesses said that they couldn't fail over to a second location. And these, this report is what I mentioned in the very beginning. You can find this report in the handout section. Now, it's a 2015 DRAS Attitudes and Adoption Report. Being that we're just in January of 2016 right now, it's still very relevant, still very applicable. So what we found with the report is there's a major mismatch between the importance of data protection and then the level of preparation in place. Only 10% of companies surveyed said that they could fail over within 15 minutes. And especially, Carla, like you were just saying, you have everything in a fireproof vault nearby. If there were an outage, could you actually get that information and have your systems up and running in 15 minutes? I'm going to go with a 99% answer that it's probably no. And so really having a backup is great, but what you need is the assurance that you can have your business up and running like that in just a few seconds to minutes if there's any outage. So the cost for your business of having that outage is going to be higher, and like I said, small businesses might end up shutting their doors, completely going out of business. Let's see. And then Carla chimed in some more. Thank you, Carla. She said, not much data compared to some of the others. We have about 3 terabytes. We're a small college, and this is just critical data. And then as far as the failover, she says, no, probably not. Now, Carla, what if you had all of your critical data on site that you could just with the push of a button fail over all of your systems in the event of any outage, maybe just hardware failure? Like we saw, hardware failure is 55% of all downtime. You know, and whether that be budget drives that failed or any other type of server failure or hardware failure, if you could just, with the push of a button, have all of your systems back up and running, have all your critical data online, and have that be the same cost of the tape that you have, wouldn't you opt for that solution? Dennis says, we have a mixed environment, Windows on Intel, Linux on Solaris, AIX on IBM Power, Intel, large deployment of VM/VDI, primary databases, Oracle, and DB2. Dennis, great info. So I have another slide that is going to speak to a lot of the specific operating systems and environments that some of the others of you on here might experience. So let me go ahead and get to those. Okay, let's take a look now. So being that the barriers to failover is that it's too expensive, insufficient IT resources, and then compatibility issues, I'm going to touch on all these points here so that we can all get on the same page and see how on-demand failover really isn't too expensive. It fits in the budget, it works with the IT resources that you currently have, and it is very simple and easy to use, no complex issues involved. So with that, let's take a look at some of the traditional DR trade-offs. So on one end of the spectrum here, this is what we were just talking to with Carla, right? So you have off-site tape backup. And back in the day, this was the primary way that we were protecting data, but it's unreliable, and it still is. How often do you end up testing those tape backups? What if you pull one of them out and it fails? You have a bad disk. So this was really unreliable. It may be cheap, but it takes days to recover. You're not going to be able to recover quickly. So what we're looking at, of course, here along the left axis is the recovery time from days to mere seconds. And then along the bottom is the cost, so the affordability along the way. Okay, next we have cloud backup. Then along came cloud backup. It has a much faster recovery time. It has a slightly increased cost. And then appliance backup, so something that combines the benefits of all the previous methods. It's faster, so you end up with something that's reliable, affordable, and you can see that this is right in the middle here, so it is very common today to use appliance backup. And there are other DR solutions along this whole continuum, but you still have to make the trade-off between speed and cost anywhere along the scale. You have site DR, warm site DR, and then you have hot site DR. So of course, the primary and secondary backup systems are running simultaneously, and the data is mirrored to the secondary server in real time. But this is really expensive. It might have the fastest RTO, or recovery time objective, but it's going to be out of the range of budget for many, many businesses. So what we really want is, like you see in the top left corner, DRaaS Nirvana, as we're calling it here, where you not only have backup, but you have failover on an appliance or in the cloud, and you can recover to a secondary site in less than 15 minutes. And DRaaS, Disaster Recovery as a Service, lets you leverage a backup appliance to quickly reboot and virtualize VMs, keep your users productive while you fix the root cause of the outage. But it can really only deliver on this promise if you find the right vendor. So what does the right vendor look like, and what would they support? So DR should be on demand, like in this scenario. So here are some end users. Everyone's working. Unknown to them, they're about to experience an unexpected outage. Any type of disaster. All of the servers and applications are now down. Those red X's symbolize the disaster, and they're right in the midst of that outage. And now this could happen at literally any time. It could even happen in the middle of the night. But with on-demand failover, what if you could log in from any browser, even on a laptop, a tablet, even on a smartphone from bed when this happens in the middle of the night, to recover and virtualize the entire environment. Any of the servers that are down, boot and run everything either on the appliance or in the cloud so that everyone keeps working. Now this whole process can happen in 1 minute, but not all DRaaS solutions are going to work this way. Now this is the new way to do failover. This is the infrascale way to do failover. It takes just a minute to boot all of your servers and applications that are down and keep all of the end users productive. So with that in mind, I'm going to come back to this, the infrascale way to do failover in just a moment. But first, let's look at those top 5 disaster recovery secrets. So this is why we're all here today, is to talk about these. Now, a quick question here from Carla on compliance. She says, great, but our security team requires that any cloud solutions be vetted and approved. Is the cloud option HIPAA compliant? And then the other compliance, Carla, is one actually that I'm not familiar with, but yes, definitely we enable HIPAA compliance. And I'll talk more to compliance in just a moment. And the other is that also, I'm guessing here because you said that you're in healthcare. Okay, HIPAA for healthcare and for student information. Yes, okay. Yep, we'll get to that in just one moment here. And I will touch on more specifics to the encryption method and the other security methods that do allow us to enable compliance. So here's a quick overview of those 5 disaster recovery secrets. 1, don't break the bank. We already saw earlier that the perceived high cost of failover is one of the barriers to adoption. 2, we're going to discuss cloud spillover. Has anyone heard of cloud spillover yet who's on this webinar? Just a quick yes or no into the question tool. Is anyone familiar with cloud spillover already? Carla says yes, Dennis says no, I'm seeing John says no, Nick says no, Jesse says no, first time. Okay, great, so we'll discuss cloud spillover. 3 is get complete coverage. So you don't want just partial coverage. You need complete coverage for your entire working environment. 4 is push button failover. You want this to happen in just a minute with the push of a button. And then 5, encrypt your data. And that's where, Carla, I'll talk about the compliance issues that many of you might have. Does anyone else have government regulations that they need to comply with? And if so, which ones? Okay, moving into secret number 1, don't break the bank. So what you want and what you're looking for is an affordable solution. Some of the DR methods that we saw on that graph, you know, the tape backup, disk backup, cloud backup, appliance backup. Now, some of those can achieve the recovery time that we want, like we saw with HotSite DR, but they simply don't achieve the cost that we need. So here is why. On the left, you see how most DR solutions are architected, right? You have a production server, it replicates to the failover site, just like you see here. But in the middle there, because of the bandwidth, the people, and the software involved, this can cost you up to 3 times as much to set up a proper DR solution. And then on top of the expense to implement it, it's complex to test it and to use it. You have those RPO and RTO trade-offs that we just saw on that graph. And it's vulnerable to hackers because it doesn't have security built right into it. But what Infrascale delivers is on-demand failover at the price points of most appliance-based backup solutions. So you don't break the bank in the process. And I'm going to come to specific cost comparison in just a minute. Now, number 2 is that finding a solution with cloud spillover. So most of the answers when I said, are you familiar with cloud spillover, were no. So I want to talk a bit about this. And then I do see a lot of other discussion here regarding compliance. So PCI, Jesse also has HIPAA compliance requirements. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then Nick, Department of Defense, I see your regulations and compliance issues as well. So let's come to that in just a minute. But I want to be clear on cloud spillover first. So many of you, especially that purpose-based backup appliances are very common today. Why would you buy an appliance? And then this is going to be a common scenario for some of you. You buy an appliance, you end up filling it up because your data continues to grow. Your data keeps growing, your appliance is filled up, you buy another one. Then you fill that up and buy another one and fill that up again and really continue this cycle. So like you see on the left, more space equals more appliance. Look at how costly that becomes for you. This is really the old way of doing things, right? So on the right is the cloud spillover way, the Infrascale way. What if you could get the last hard appliance that you'd ever need, just a slim rack mount unit, a 1U unit. You could send it 1 terabyte or you could send it 100 terabytes. By utilizing the cloud and intelligent spillover technology, you can spill data over from the device to the cloud based on policies that you set regarding the value of that data and the age of that data. So you keep all of your most critical data locally on site, and then you can spill over the rest of your data to the cloud, which is an incredibly cost-effective solution. This is actually something that Gartner recognized us for. They wrote about us in their Cool Vendor report last year. They said, Infrascale says, when you need more space, get a bigger cloud, not a bigger appliance. So this is really how you can exploit cloud spillover for all of your growing data. So Jesse is saying, oh, okay, simple data replication equals cloud spillover. Yes, exactly. Now again, you set the policies on your most critical data that you want to keep and need to keep on site. And then you can simply spill the rest over to the cloud. You have that available to you, and you can pull that back down from the cloud anytime you need it. You have the most critical applications and data available with the push of a button. Now, and you do have several options with this as well, so I'm simply referring to the most common usage. But let's take a look at all the options available to you. Now, you do need complete coverage. It's vital to protect all of your data, all of your applications, and all of your users' devices as well. How many of you have road warriors out there who are working from laptops, who are working from tablets, who are working from smartphones? This is 2016, so that's really the way to work these days. So let's take a look at how you can have complete coverage for all of your environments. So you really want a solution that first can back up any device. So desktops, laptops, mobile devices, physical and virtual servers. Some of you may be running a VMware shop, so very curious to hear what type of environments you have. Jesse says we do. I think that Jesse is referring to those road warriors out there. So, you know, I'm one especially. I work on my tablet. I work on my mobile phone on a daily basis. Carla also says, yep, we have all of the above, tablets, laptops, and yes, desktops. So you do need a solution that can back up all of these devices. Now, next, you want a solution that can support any operating system, not just Windows. Earlier, let's see, was it Dennis brought up Linux environments, Unix environments, VMware, Hyper-V. You also need to be able to deploy in any form with built-in security. So built-in security means double-blind encryption, find device, wipe device. What if you had an employee with critical data on their device and they left the company or left the organization? If you were able to remotely locate that device and wipe the critical information off of it, would you be able to rest easy at night and sleep better? And with Infrascale, just to be clear, all of these points that I'm making, we do support all of this. So I want that to be very clear throughout the presentation. Now, you also want to be able to store in any cloud. So this came up earlier, a question about the cloud. Now, which cloud are we using? Well, public, private, and third-party clouds are all supported. If you're working with Amazon Web Services, AWS, or Windows Azure, if you have your own infrastructure and you're looking for private cloud deployment, or if you're looking to store in an Infrascale cloud, we have global data centers located in 16 globally diverse locations throughout the world. So we have the US, we have Canada, we have the UK, we have Australia, New Zealand, we have Europe covered, we have South America and Asia covered. So we have a globally diverse cloud environment where you are able to select the data center that you need. And this comes into play with compliance requirements as well. So that's why I bring that up now. You also want the ability to recover anything. Excuse me. So we allow you to recover anything from an entire database server down to the mailbox level, where you can even preview each message for search and recovery if needed with Exchange Granular Recovery. For example, the CEO deletes a critical email with an attachment that's needed. Now you can very easily go back, search, and recover that individual email. Or on the other hand, you can recover, boot up an entire database. So it's very flexible and easy to use. Now you can also boot anywhere, either on the appliance or in the cloud. So you do want the ability to have that flexibility to boot anywhere. And then of course you can fail back any systems as well. Again, VMs, applications, servers, your entire Infrascale lets you protect all of your data from mobile devices to desktops and laptops, physical or virtual servers, and we support over 100 versions of operating systems. Now, number 4 is push button failover. So earlier, just sort of talking about the types of disasters that can be experienced, anything from hardware failure, human error, software failure, or even natural disasters. Now, natural disasters only account for 5% of outages, but that is still extremely important. You need to be able to cover your business against both micro and macro disasters. So to recover quickly from micro disasters, that appliance-based failover is going to be the way to go. So with push-button failover, you can simply spin up and virtualize VMs with all of your critical business applications from that local appliance. And then your IT crew is going to be working to fix the source problem. But while they're doing that, it simply takes a minute to boot and virtualize. The time is really measured in mere seconds. So all of the end users stay working, stay productive. And then on the other hand, if you needed to recover from, say, a flood, for example. So Carla, you have your tapes in a fireproof vault you mentioned. Now, if that vault is underwater, it's going to be pretty tough to recover any of the data on there. So with push-button failover, again, you can spin up VMs in the cloud and let your users access those applications and stay productive during any type of site-wide disaster. Carla says correct. Yeah, if it's underwater, it's going to be tough to get. But see, we make it very easy with just the push of a button to spin up that entire environment in the cloud. And that lets your users access those applications and stay productive. Now, how do you get data back on site from the cloud, okay? And that's something I touched on earlier, but didn't get into the details. So let me do that now. Well, we move compute to where the data sits. So if you have 500 terabytes of data sitting on the appliance, or maybe you have 500 terabytes in the cloud, we're going to move the VMs and run the VMs where the data is. And that's how we can boot you up in minutes, no matter how much data you have. Okay, number 5, and the final secret here to disaster recovery is encrypt your data. And I can see by some of the responses coming through that this is going to be really important to most of you on the line here. You have government regulations that you need to comply with. You need a secure option. You can't just send raw files to the cloud and expect that to be a complete backup and disaster recovery solution. So let's take a look at this encryption system. So again, rather than sending them to the cloud, we have a military-grade double-blind encryption system. And this is really a best practice as compared to any other methods that other solutions use. So here you can see that encryption is done locally, in transit, and at rest in the data center. And that's the only true way to ensure the data is secure. And this is the greatest security that does allow us to enable compliance with those government regulations such as HIPAA, PCI, and more, all the others that were mentioned as well. So really the idea behind that double-blind encryption, it's specifically for business data. The approach is to encrypt your data locally with a key that only you have and the vendor doesn't. And then when the data gets to the data center, it's encrypted again with a key that the vendor has and you don't know. So by having those two separate keys, it dramatically lowers the chances of any attack being successful. So even if a hacker were to get in, they can't decrypt the data because they don't have both keys. So just think of it as similar to a bank deposit box. You need both keys to access that data. Okay, I have been talking quite a bit, so I want to hear again from you, and I'm going to launch another quick poll here. Let's see. Okay, so you should see this next poll popping up. We'd love to hear from you. When it comes to failover and DR, which of these is you? A, I can already fail over to a second site in under 60 minutes. B, I wish I had failover DR, but I cannot afford it. Or C, I don't think I need failover DR. so far, just 36% of you have voted. It's up a bit longer, and I'll let everyone get a chance to vote. In looking at the questions, I see Dennis is using VMware and looking at Hyper-V. No worries, Dennis, because we do protect both. Carla says we're mostly VMware, Linux, Windows, and Mac. No problem, Carla. Let's see some other questions. We frequently need to keep data in country. If we have a location where you do not have presence, will you add new countries as needed? Dennis, what do you have in mind already, the specific countries that you're referencing? And I can also send you, Dennis, a specific map with all of our global points of presence so that you can see if there is one available. But I do not see any harm in being open to adding new data centers as well, because we do so all the time. When I started with Infrascale, we had about 12 global points of presence. Now we have 16. So that's just an idea of how we're growing and expanding, and I do think that we would be able to have something for you. Mark says, cannot fail over within 60 minutes, probably more within 4 to 6 hours. Mark, how large is your organization? What would that 4 to 6 hours of downtime cost your business? What we looked at in the beginning with larger organizations, each hour can cost up to $600,000. Ron says, where are your cloud data centers? So Ron, looks like you are interested in the map as well. I'll get the specific cities pulled up here so I can tell everyone the exact cities without missing any. Jesse says we have VMs that need cloud spillover. Right now we're looking into Azure options right now, so no problem. Microsoft Azure we do support. Dennis is saying that Germany and France come to mind. Mark is saying healthcare organizations. Jesse is saying solution that requires HIPAA. So yes, okay, all of these things we are going to touch on a bit more if we haven't discussed them already. It looks like 56% of you are saying, I wish I had failover DR, but I can't afford it. So let's talk about that first, and then come back to more of these compliance issues, the security issues, the hosting questions as far as which cloud. Looks like 38% of you are saying I can fail over to a second site in under 60 minutes already. Can I bring that down to 15 minutes? How many of you can fail over to a second site in under 15 minutes? That 38% of you who answered A. And then 6% say, I don't think I need failover DR. Really curious as to why from that 6% of you. And Dennis says, no, he can't do 15 minutes. Okay, thanks everyone for your participation. Great interaction, I really love it. Okay, let's close this poll down and then get into some of these other details that you guys are asking about. Okay, so let me quickly tell you why I'm here talking to you today, right? This is our mission at Infrascale, to eradicate downtime. Infrascale is a DRaaS company that uses the cloud to eradicate downtime. Now, we can't prevent disasters from occurring. We can't prevent hardware failures. We can't prevent human errors or natural disasters. But what we want to do is ease the pain that you experience in an outage and lower that disruption time so that we equip you with the ability to quickly and affordably recover from any type of disaster, large or small. And this is how we do it. This is the Cloud Failover Appliance. It's a slim rack mount unit. It can scale from 1 terabyte of protected storage to 100 terabytes. And you can bolt on an unlimited amount of cloud space for long-term storage and for archiving. Now, we have built in a powerful deduplication and WAN acceleration technology. It's all built right in, and that cloud spillover capability as well is built right in. Now, here are just a few of the examples of the sizes that we have. Now, the smallest, like I mentioned, is that 1U rack unit. We have up to 9U units, so we can scale with your company. The ability to protect any size of data, large large or small. Now, the pricing is something that I wanted to get to because over 50% of you said, I wish I had push button failover and I just can't afford it. Now, I did a competitive comparison of pricing with Infrascale next to pricing of Datto, Unitrends, and Barracuda. And because they were the feedback that I got from you guys in past webinars and past webcasts, this is what I was hearing people say. I'm using Barracuda, I'm using Unitrends, I'm using Datto. Now earlier I think some other companies were brought in as well. So I'm happy to share the results with you and happy to do a competitive comparison on this with any of you on the line here. Now this is an apples-to-apples comparison. It's a 10 terabyte appliance and 3 years of cloud storage. Now Infrascale came in 70% less than some of these competitors. And again, it's because we have that proprietary technology that we have built right into the cloud failover appliance that allows us to keep the cost so low. Now let's take a look at a competitive comparison here now. Axient, Datto, Barracuda, and Unitrends. Now these are just some of the key points that I have heard that you need and that I have heard from you. This is what I want to look at. Again, past webinars, customers who have called me up. So an affordable solution, we talked about that just on the last slide. A solution with cloud spillover, a solution that's complete coverage, allows for push button failover, has encryption and security built right in, and has a quick recovery time that fits my business and affords me what I need. Now with the 3-year cost that you see along the bottom, this is the range that you're seeing here. Infrascale is the most cost-effective solution that includes all of those capabilities that we just talked about. You can see that all of the other major vendors simply don't stack up the way that Infrascale does. Now, here is a quick snapshot of our online dashboard. So the Infrascale dashboard is going to provide you a unified management console where you can view activity alerts, you can access reporting and monitoring. This is where you're going to monitor all of your company or your organization usage. You're going to manage retention settings for compliance right within the dashboard, and you can control remote deployment here as well. So from the dashboard, with just a push of a button, you can remotely log in. Again, an outage could happen at any time. It could happen in the middle of the night. On any even smartphone, tablet, anything with a browser, you can log in and recover your entire environment with just the push of a button here. And if we have time, I'm looking at the time. It's already for the 45 minutes that I promised. We've already got to that. I do have a 3-minute video that I can show you of this failover in action. I'll do that at the very end so that those of you who have to get going can feel free to drop off the line. And if you're interested in seeing the 3-minute failover demo, I'll show that to you at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's talk just a bit about Infrascale to recap the key benefits that we just heard. Breakthrough pricing. You can save up to 70% compared to other leading DRaaS solutions. We offer cloud spillover, so you can untether your cloud storage from your local storage. That allows you to scale your data size and keep you within your budget. We allow push-button failover, so you can recover servers and applications in mere seconds to minutes. And we offer complete coverage, so we support over 100 versions of operating systems and hypervisors, so we have you covered as far as the coverage there. But you don't have to take my word for it. Gartner named us Cool Vendor for business continuity and disaster recovery in 2015. We've also been recognized by Storage Switzerland and ZDNet as well. So you don't have to just take my word. These are some of the other recognitions that we have received within the past couple of years. So with that, I do want to move into the Q&A. I want to let you know the next steps. I want to quickly make sure that we get time for our prize giveaway and then show you the 3-minute demo video. So for those of you who can stay for that, I know I blocked off another 15 minutes in your calendar since I blocked this off for an hour, so I'll try to get through all of that in the next 15 minutes here. Now, I also want to make sure that for joining us today, I offer all of you a free cloud failover appliance evaluation unit. So I would love for you to see for yourself. So with this free CFA eval, all you need to do to claim that free eval is use that question tool. Let me know that you'd like an eval. Type in your name and your email address or maybe your phone number if you'd like me to call you. And I will have someone reach out, either email or phone, whatever is the best way for you, to set up this free CFA eval. Let's see. I am seeing a couple of, okay, Nick says I'd like an eval. And again, if you're requesting that eval, let me know your email or your phone number that you'd like to be contacted at. Okay, I see a couple of questions and then in between all of the eval requests. Great, wonderful. Okay, so again, let me jump into the Q&A while those eval requests are still going. So again, just your name, your email address, or your phone number, and we'll reach out to you and get you set up with this free eval. Let me go ahead then now and pull up some of the other questions that are coming up. One great question came through here that says, I'm not familiar with Infrascale. Can you give a quick overview of the company history? So great question. And anyone else on the line, have you joined a webinar before? How did you hear about Infrascale? Is this the first you heard of us? Just curious to hear from that. Now, just to give you an overview, Infrascale was founded in 2011, but our SOS Online Backup was founded in 2006, and that grew into Infrascale. We still have SOS Online Backup as our consumer backup and recovery option. But Infrascale, we're headquartered in Los Angeles. We're venture-backed. We have about 150 employees worldwide. We are providing secure failover and cloud solutions to over 1,000 partners across the globe, and in turn we're protecting millions of endpoints and devices for companies and organizations just like yours, and about 20 billion data objects in our global grid worldwide. The next question says, oh, okay. I'm getting feedback of I've never heard of Infrascale, or I've heard of Infrascale, and knew they specialized in DR, but that was about it. Thanks for the info. Yes, I attended a webinar before. How long do you keep the eval unit? Cheryl, you keep the eval unit for 30 days. The next question says you didn't share specific costs. What is the pricing model? Well, pricing can start at just a few $100s if you're looking for cloud storage. It depends on the amount of data that you need, and it depends on your environment. Our appliances range from, I brought up some of the models earlier, the 1U unit up to the 9U unit. So do you have just a couple of terabytes that you're looking to protect, or do you have hundreds of terabytes that you're looking to protect? So it's all based on your usage. It's based on how much data. It's not based on, say, the number of recoveries that you complete or the number of tests that you run. It's simply based on the amount of data. What are there any overage costs in the cloud as limits are met? If I go over capacity, is my data not backed up? Great question. If you go over capacity, we'll simply contact you to let you know you need more space. You're also going to be receiving warnings in the dashboard if you get close to capacity, but we're never going to leave you hanging without your scheduled backups. Your data is still protected. Okay, so the appliance does support 100 different operating systems, really. Yes, we support Windows, Mac, earlier was Linux and Unix were brought up. So to be a little bit more specific, all versions of Windows, all versions of Linux, Unix, OpenServer, Novell NetWare, Solaris, HPUX, AIX. We also have bare metal bootable for Windows, and then bare metal bootable for Linux is coming soon. I believe it's Q1 of this year or maybe Q2 of this year. And then next question, do you support Red Hat and CentOS? Yes, both. Common Linux distributions, we support those. Is the backup in real time, or can we determine the frequency of when each server is backed up? So those protection policies are completely configurable. You will set it up to protect every 15 minutes, every 24 hours, whatever you would like. You can do that within the dashboard. Okay. Next question asks, do you leverage data dedupe? And if so, what sort of dedupe efficiency do you get? Yes, we do. We have up to 90% deduplication rate. Now, it depends on data and the types of files, but we have a very powerful deduplication technology built in. Now, the next question is asking about minimum bandwidth requirements. You just need at least a 1 megabit connection. Because you're buffering on the appliance, the amount of dedicated bandwidth that you need to the cloud is far less than you'd assume. Also, the deduplication rate that I just mentioned, we have that powerful technology built in. And then our appliance allows you to throttle based off of speed. So you can set the specific speed and the time frames. Because you have those throttling capabilities, you can trickle the data if need be. So in reality, your bandwidth doesn't really matter. You can have the local data stored on the appliance, and you can push up to the cloud on your schedule. Next question says, what is your support like? Do you offer 24/7 support? So yes, we offer 24/7 support, 365 days a year. It's US-based support. We have half of our team here in LA. We have half of our team in Salt Lake City. We have support via email, live chat, ticketing, a knowledge base. We also have a phone line with a 1-hour SLA. So we have all those support options available to you. Okay, now the next question comes back to the data centers, as I did mention. So we have 16 global points of presence. So that includes the U.S., Canada. In Canada, it's a Toronto data center. In the U.K., we have a London data center. In the U.S., we have Dallas, Houston, Louisville. We have Los Angeles, Salt Lake City. We have Chicago. In Australia, we have Melbourne. In South Africa, we have Johannesburg. Our data centers are all Tier 3 and Tier 4 as well. So they'll all require biometric credential requirements, redundant cooling, etc. And then next question comes back to compliance. So I do want to be sure to note that yes, we do enable compliance. We take security very seriously. We sign business associate agreements. All of our data centers comply with HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI, Safe Harbor, CEF 70, SSAE 16, and many other CJIS, many other regulations as well. The data is encrypted at 256-bit AES locally, sent over an SSL, and then encrypted again at 256-bit AES. If you want, you can also take it a step further. With UltraSafe Max, you not only define the password, but you can also define the encryption key itself. So if you are subject to any of those regulatory frameworks, you want to make sure that the vendor you choose has compliance built in. You know, whichever vendor you do choose to go with, it doesn't, whether it be Infrascale, whether it be any other vendor, that is, I realize that that is very important to many of you on the call today, as that question came up many, many times. So just do make sure whatever vendor you choose has that built in. Okay, let's see. We have 5 minutes left, so I'll go through 2 more questions, and then I'll play the 3-minute video, and then we'll do our prize winner. So the next question Let's see. Okay. So the next question says, Datto doesn't let me back up laptops, particularly roaming laptops. Can you do that? Yes, definitely. We have endpoint protection for individual mobile clients. You can install an agent. They'll back up just fine. So we do include geolocate and remote wipe for those endpoints as well. And then don't forget about accessibility and recovery to data from mobile devices. So with Androids, we have a very powerful backup application. It runs on a schedule. It backs up everything on the device. It offers robust data compression. With iPhone as well, we have access to backup for videos, photos, and contacts. So you do have a really, truly powerful recovery tool there. Let's see. Where is the customer portal available? You can access the dashboard from any browser. So it can be accessed by any computer, tablet, smartphone. What options do you have for IP addressing? So we can set up MPLS networks, we can set up a virtual private network, or we can set up managed DNS. So you have a few options there. And then, so only the latest information stays on the local appliance and everything else in the cloud? Question mark. So no, that's not the case. Only the most important data. And you set the policies on the age and the value of your data. So you have complete control over it. Does your solution offer a sync and share application like Dropbox or OwnCloud in addition to the backup solutions? Yes, we do. While Dropbox is really a consumer product, we offer an enterprise-grade sync and share application called File Sharing, and that can also be accessed via a desktop sync, a web browser, or a mobile app. And being an InfoScale customer, that automatically gives you access to file sharing, and all of your seats can be viewed and allocated from the dashboard. Okay. Last question is, do you offer monthly payments? Yes, we offer flexible payment options, and we have monthly payment plans available. So you could get started today. We do have that option. Hardware as a service, we also have that as an option for the 1200 series and 15 series of our CFA. Okay, great. So that brings us to, okay, I've run out of time now. It's 11:58 in LA, that is. So I have 2 minutes left here with you all. I see a few more questions have come through that I did not have time to answer, but I'd really love to reply to everyone via email and get some follow-up for you. So if you asked a question and I didn't get to it today, apologies. I will make sure to reach out to you. And for the winner of the prize giveaway today, we had a lot of really great participation. Both Dennis and Carla participated quite a bit. So I'm going to, rather than have one prize winner today, we have 2 prize winners. Dennis and Carla, I'll be reaching out to you this afternoon, and we'll get you set up with not only that, but if you had an eval request in there, we'll get you set up with that as well. So thank you everyone for joining us today. This was a great presentation because I got to hear a lot of feedback from you. So I really appreciate your participation, your involvement, and just your time today in being here. So I look forward to speaking to all of you more. Look for follow-up from me, and I hope to work with all of you in the future. Thank you.